Yo, what is up guys? Welcome back to Fear Review number 6 I believe. So we are reviewing Noob Sim. He's up against Zayats on this map. It's called, I think, Megalo. I could be pronouncing that wrong. But Noob Sim's gonna go ahead, starting with the stabby. Pretty good. That's how I like to start. I don't like to rush this panic point, but let's see. Our opponent starts out with a Henrietta and the Razor Mouse. Henrietta's gonna be a little bit annoying, especially since you have a stabby. So, interesting enough, you do choose to let your stabby assume he's gonna get poisoned by the Henrietta. That's what I assume is gonna happen. Yeah, that's what I would do. However, I know you don't have access to Muffin Top, so this play, the thing is, it's not a terrible play because you can always just heal your stabby with like a clinical, right? Which I'm assuming you're gonna do. The only problem is that means that you're gonna have to invest 3 keys into that, which, you know, clinical is probably not the worst thing to invest 3 keys in. You know, if you keep it alive throughout the match, it'll get insane value. But I feel like you could have, what I would have done instead right there, maybe move your stabby here, right, and get the Gravedigger out, remove this obstacle, and then move stabby here, and then that would have kept your stabby out of range of the Henrietta, but it would have left you with the option to defend this panic point. Of course, again, it's not like the worst play because you're just probably gonna heal your stabby later on. If you don't heal your stabby on, then you could have definitely played that better. You're gonna bring in a Sheeping Gas. I'm assuming to try to get rid of the stabby. Your opponent's gonna go ahead, sacrifice the Razor Mouse. That's another thing, guys. You, for the most part, you don't want to be just throwing your 1 keys out after they're done capturing a panic point. What I would have done if I was the opponent, I would have probably just fall back with our Razor Mouse. Notice how, you know, Noob Sim has a boomer out, another 1 key. He's obviously just gonna use the boomer to capture this tile. And instead of throwing away the Razor Mouse, after the boomer captures this tile, you can go ahead, send your Razor Mouse out to, you know, go back and forth with the panic point. Especially since you know that you poisoned your opponent's stabby. Most of the time, they're not just gonna let it die to the poison effect, they're gonna heal it. So if they're gonna bring a healer out, then they're also gonna heal this damage that you did to the Sheeping Gas with your Razor Mouse, effectively just rendering that whole play just useless, you know. So he's gonna bring a, I forgot what this one's called. It's like a Misanthrope. So definitely don't see that phobia out too much. It's okay, it's not, I wouldn't say it's the best, but it does get the job done. It's pretty tanky, to be honest. It's not a bad phobia as much as some people think it is. Are there better uses? Yes, but so that pretty good placing your Sheeping Gas here, because if your opponent finds a way to kill this boomer, then you got your Sheeping Gas in position to deal quite a bit of damage to the Misanthrope. It doesn't look like your opponent has anything though, so he's gonna bring out a baby Snakey, which is pretty interesting. Pretty interesting considering you're just gonna go ahead and sacrifice your Sheeping Gas. I think
that will leave a mark.
Let's see how this place goes. Do you bring anything else up? No. So that play was a little bit questionable. I mean, yes, this baby Snakey will pretty much die to the Sheeping Gas poison effect. The only problem with that is that you definitely could have saved your Sheeping Gas, especially since you have clinical out. You could have like just waited 1 extra turn and then healed your Sheeping Gas back to pretty much full health. And the problem with poisoning this baby Snakey is that Sheeping Gas costs 4, right? Essentially, yeah, you did a bit of damage to the Misanthrope, but it's not gonna die from the Sheeping Gas. The only value you're really getting from the Sheeping Gas, a little bit of chip damage on the Misanthrope, and you're killing a 3 cost phobia. while Sheeping Gas costs 4. So if you are gonna send your Sheeping Gas out to basically suicide poison something, one, you wanna, you know, poison undead phobies, which you did, which is pretty good. But you also wanna try to get value. So, you know, this is kind of like a -1 trade because you're essentially just gonna trade your 4 key costs for the 3 key costs. So I definitely would have fought back a little bit. And you also lost your boomer there, which was pretty unnecessary. You could have, you definitely want to, if you can, just save your 1 key cost for the most part. I would have just played more passively and just defended this middle panic point. Probably last turn, maybe get out like a Jin Sting, position your Stabby here, and then Jin Sting here, and then leave your Sheeping Gas here, as it won't die to Misanthrope or the baby Snakey, you know. But you're gonna bring out a Cerberus, pretty scary, and the Razor Mouth. Okay, so not much to say about that play. Okay, and your opponent's kind of overextending here, but I'm guessing it's just because he knows his baby snake is gonna die soon, so not the worst play. So he's gonna bring out a Foul, which is actually not a bad counter to Cerberus, because this thing can just disease your Cerberus, and then since disease never runs out, it'll just kill your Cerberus slowly, but it does get the job done. So I'm curious as to what you do here. So you're gonna heal your Stabby, of course. Let me check something out. Okay. You're probably... Oh, yeah, so you're gonna be able to kill the baby Snakey as well, while also keeping your Stabby alive. You're gonna bring your Cerberus in. Okay, that's pretty good. I was probably just commenting on for that turn, probably just the opponent's mistakes there. He got a little bit too aggressive, especially since you always wanna, if your opponent, you know, well, he's not our opponent, but if the player you're versing, right, has any kind of phobias that have special abilities, you always wanna make sure, check if they're on cooldown or not. So right there, that whole play was pretty much negated from the simple fact that, one, our opponent overextended, right? He got a little bit too close to the spawn point that allowed Noob Sim to capitalize on that and be able to summon like a Murder Wing for, you know, 500 extra damage, which our opponent probably didn't calculate. So, rule number 1, never push too deep into your opponent's spawn. Number 2, always keep track of their special ability and if they're on cooldown or not. So right there, that whole play was also like, what's it called? The whole play was countered simply from the fact that Clinical had its healing ability online next turn, so that allowed the Stabby to be able to be kept around for pretty much a whole game, to be honest. I don't see the Stabby going down anytime soon. So your opponent really wants to get rid of your Cerberus, I can tell, because they're also going to bring in Sheeping Gas. In case you guys are unaware, disease and the poison status effects do stack, so if he gets the poison off here, his Cerberus will be getting dealt like 1100 damage each turn, which is pretty crazy. So right there, you opt in for your Stabby to tank the Stabby, which is pretty good. I probably would have done the same, just so that your Cerberus doesn't get pulled into range of the Foul. You know, you don't want a Cerberus taking unnecessary damage, and plus you get to capture this panic point. So your opponent's just gonna throw away his Sheeping Gas there. That's completely unnecessary. He definitely did not need to bring out the Sheeping Gas even. Like, he's already diseased. He just has to slowly chip away at Cerberus. You're able to capitalize on that. Bring in the Stat P a little bit closer. Start pressuring his heart. Your Cerberus, like I said, it will be dealt, yeah, like 1100 damage. So it should go down about next turn. Looks like he's gonna foul your, or what's it called, Funky Chicken your stabby, which is a bit unfortunate, but at least you'll be able to get some chip damage off.
That feels like
Actually, you might, I think your healing ability is back online, right? So you might actually just be able to get some chip damage. I mean, you might be able to actually keep your stabby alive. So again, guys, always look and see if your opponent's ability is online. And right there, that heal, you know, this clinical is putting in work. It's already paid for its own weight plus more, so definitely worth the 3 keys. It's kept this stabby alive through thick and thin. Now let's see how low is the foul actually. Yeah, it's pretty low. It's gonna go down pretty easily from now on. You can just chip away at it from Jar Cannon. Okay. Right there, I probably would have just... let me see. Yeah, I think what I would have done differently there was... There's really no reason to throw away your clinical just yet. The stabby makes sense, you know, it's just gonna die. Might as well get some chip damage off with it. I probably would have moved the Jar Cannon. Actually, it's kind of hard. Maybe I'm gonna move the Jar Cannon here and start chipping away at the foul. Let's see what your opponent does. Very interesting. Your opponent actually could have won, to be honest. I think... Yeah, if he would have sacrificed his foul to disease your Murder Wing. And then... Or could he have won? Maybe not. But I don't know why your opponent played his foul up there, since it was just gonna die. But you're able to capitalize on that mistake, and now it's GG. You didn't make too many mistakes. I mean, it worked out, so I wouldn't say you made...
Is the mark of a master.
You won the game, so... You know, I'd say, for the most part, you played pretty well. You didn't really make any big mistakes that I saw. Only thing is, maybe take into consideration the stabby play I was talking about earlier, where, you know, like turn 1, you move your stabby here. Turn 2, you know, you see your opponent pull out like a Henrietta or a the other spider, and then you could effectively you could do one of two things. So you can let your stabby get poisoned, right? And then bring out like a muffin top or a clinical. Or if you don't want to bring out a clinical, because it is a 3-key investment and it does take up one of your phobie slots, so you effectively only get 4 phobies that you're going to use for pushing, because, you know, clinical is typically going to be in the back lines. What you could do instead is maybe turn 2 for you, right? Move your stabby here, Gravedigger here, Gravedigger obstacle, remove this, and then place your stabby there. Your opponent won't be able to poison your stabby next turn, but you'll be able to, you know, cover this panic point. But I mean, other than that, you played it pretty well. I don't know how the match would have gone if you're like on this turn. Here, I'll show you guys. On this turn, right? Or the previous turn. Yeah, right here. So I think this one, I probably would have done it differently. I think so. I would have sacrificed the stabby. The stabby always gets sacrificed here. I don't know about the clinical though. Maybe not yet, I would say. What I would have done here, move the stabby, doesn't matter where, just as long as you get 1 hit off with your stabby on the boom angles, right? Move your Jar Cannon up here. Take a shot at the foul, right? Move your Murder Wing maybe on this panic point. Because if not, your opponent's probably just gonna... He didn't end up doing this, but he could have moved this foul here. Disease your Murder Wing. Your Murder Wing's gone, right? And then all your opponent has to do is just take care of Jar Cannon, clinical, you wouldn't have to worry about that because you also threw that one away. So you could have kept clinical alive as well. I think it would have helped you better. And then once you, let's say you do what I say, right? You move your Jar Cannon here, take a shot at the foul. Move your Murder Wing here so it doesn't get diseased. Your opponent will, I don't know what he could do, to be honest. Your Jar Cannon, he doesn't have a really good way to deal with it except for Bow Mangles, but it's very easy to keep Jar Cannon out of range. And then, so your opponent will either be forced to do one of two things. Either he's gonna be forced to move in with his Bow Mangles, either this way or that way, and depending whichever way, his foul is low enough, especially after taking that Jar Cannon shot. I believe it would also die to, does it die? I think it does. I think after the one Jar Cannon shot, it would die from a Monty from the Murder Wing, and then you don't have to worry about foul. But again, you play that pretty good. That's about everything I have to critique about. But GG's to NoobSim. Thank you again for submitting your video. And again, if you guys want to be featured in this, be sure to check out the description down, and it's in the description for every free review. Like a little form you just fill out. And if you want to get featured, you know, you want games to be critiqued on, you know, feel free to fill out the form and whatnot. But thanks again, NoobSim. Very well played. GG's to you. And I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.